All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's career chat. We're excited to have Gabe Stark and Connor Avants with us from Paycom to talk to us about organizational relations and a little bit about Paycom. So with that, I think, Gabe, you're up first, so I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Lynell. I'm really excited to talk about this topic. This is an opportunity, I think, for students, if they're members of organizations, clubs, to kind of develop and foster relationships that mutually benefit, organizations that maybe, have something in common with the club, and also, and hopefully benefit the group. But we'll jump in. I'll give a quick little introduction. So let's see here. My name's Gabe Stark. So I work at Paycom as an operations college recruiter. So I help find talent for our internship programs, opportunities within the company that are open to fresh grads, along the lines of operations. So those are the professionals who are working directly with our clients. Prior to Paycom, I actually worked in education. I taught for a few years overseas in the Middle East. I got my education degree actually from ORU. So familiar with Tulsa. Obviously, there's a multitude of horrible, big issues with COVID, but one little selfish kind of first world complaint is I'm sad that I can't go to Tulsa and actually be on campus, because I love being on campus there. And my favorite restaurant in the world is just down the road, called El Rio Verde off Utica and Admiral. So if you've never been there, I recommend going there. It's not too far from campus. But I love being part of Paycom. I love connecting with students, and looking forward to again chat with y'all a little bit. And then I'll let Connor introduce himself real quick.
Yeah, so I'm Connor Avants, technical college recruiter at Paycom. I know for those of you that have previously worked with Lindsay Hyde, she's traditionally been the on-campus recruiter for Tulsa. She's transitioned over into more of a leadership role, and so I'm excited to partner with Tulsa and keep that going on. I'm a technical college recruiter, so I recruit for some more of the more technical roles within software development and IT. So we'll today hopefully be able to go into some specifics on Paycom and talk about some different roles. But with that, I'll pass it back to Gabe and we can get it started.
All right. So just kind of a little overview of what we're going to be talking about. Initially, we're going to talk about why developing relationships with outside organizations is important. If there is zero connections, how to find those people, find those important contacts. Next, talk a little bit about how do you introduce yourself? How do you communicate with outside organizations? And then also just kind of the part of sometimes requires some patience, some persistence, but maintaining that connection. And then after the engagement, after you work with an outside representative, how do you follow up with them to make them want to work with you again in the future? And after that, we'll do a little Q&A about just that topic. And then, Connor is going to talk specifically about our organization and kind of going into the fall and how you can connect with us at the school year. So, organizational relations, there's different ways you could describe that or call that. But it's where you connect with a company that can benefit you or your club. So let's say you're the president of the business leaders organization. I'm just making up a name. Or I know Circle K is a club on campus. And you're needing a connection from an expert in their field. And what this can lead to, it can lead to sponsorships to your group. It can lead to slots for guest speakers. This can lead to networking, which could ultimately result in career opportunities as well as mentorship opportunities. Sometimes when you see clubs on campus and they might have an event and it'll say sponsored by this company name, that is a relationship that quite often is founded because there is maybe an important individuals in the company or a number of individuals within the company that graduated from that institution often that relationship was founded just because someone made the effort to reach out and develop a relationship and tend to that. Obviously, it can sometimes require a little bit of work, but in the grand scheme of things, it can mutually benefit the group. And I had a meeting with one of our managers this morning, and he's a former athlete. He played, he was a defensive back at OU, played in the NFL a little bit. And one of his sayings, he has kind of these athletic sayings, is shoot your shot. And, I kind of reminded me of, I was reading last night about how, there'll be these high school kids who will, write a letter to some famous celebrity to go with them to their high school prom. And a lot, I've actually done that. So I think that there is a multitude of amazing opportunities out there, and the only thing keeping those connections from happening is just asking. So, I mean, if there's a big thought leader, within your field of study, if that's marketing, medicine, I'd say be ambitious. I mean, I talk to those people who have big names. I find them on LinkedIn. I've had the opportunity to go to some conferences, and there's a speaker who has their own Wikipedia page and everything, and I'll just connect with them and say, thanks for sharing, I like this. And a lot of times they actually respond back. So there's nothing wrong with reaching out. And I think if you go out and ask, and introduce yourself and ask for a favor, you'd be surprised how many people are willing to help out. So the most important part, and probably the toughest part, is finding those connections. One thing you can do first is find, the organization's website and see if they have a directory. Look up job titles like community relations, community outreach, university relations. I would say you probably have better luck doing this with a smaller organization, such as like, a nonprofit, something that's local. If it is a bigger company, chances are they don't have a directory page, but smaller orgs would definitely more likely have that, and they often have their email address and phone number. So definitely don't hesitate to reach out to these people initially if that is available to you. A lot of also organizations have that contact us page. That can kind of be a last resort, but I filled those out before, and they sometimes feel like they kind of go in the dark abyss. Our goal is to connect with a real life person who can help you or introduce you to the right person. So let's say you go to the website and there's no directory, you filled out the contact us, but you're not sure, when you're when you'll hear back. There's another resource you can do and utilize that I think is very powerful and I think can go a long way. And that's LinkedIn. And I assume most of you might have a LinkedIn, but if not, definitely connect with Lena or Tani. They have resources, and they'll host kind of professional development employer showcases later on, and we can give you the resources and how to build a strong LinkedIn profile. But what's great about LinkedIn is you can connect with people and find multiple people that you can reach out to. So I'm actually going to show a little activity of how easy this is to do. Let me hop on to LinkedIn and show you how you can find people you want to connect with and ask for a partnership. So let's see here, make sure I'm doing the right page. Do you all see LinkedIn right now?
We do, yes.
Okay, perfect. So it's relatively easy. So let's say you are part of, let's say, a student organization focused on energy. So you want to have some guest speakers, come to your club. You have a club meeting once a week in the evenings, and you want a few guest speaker slots. So one thing you can do is just open up your LinkedIn and search people. And then relatively easily, there should be filters. Click on your filters, and then just plug in, areas that fit. So I would put in, if you're at University of Tulsa, try to find someone in the Tulsa area. And let's say you want maybe someone from, Phillips 66 to come. Let's see, you can add that. And then I would recommend, like I said earlier, looking on the directory, look for someone who does something along the lines of like community engagement. We'll just start off, putting in the word community and apply that here. And then I did a little practice search and we found Erin Lieberton. She does, PR. I believe it's Phillips 66. You can click on her profile. And once you go into your profile, you can sometimes see they might have their contact information. Most often, it's just their LinkedIn link. Sometimes people who are a little bit more comfortable putting information out there might include their email or phone number. But then you could just send them, you can connect with them and then send them a message, and you reach out to them and try to create that connection. One thing I would recommend doing is you could also simply, not everyone looks for LinkedIn every day. Just do a quick little search. You could search their name and do, let's say, Phillips. And let's see here. And maybe you could try like email. We'll see, maybe, it might just take a few minutes to look around. And let's see here. I actually did a little practice run the other day, and actually I found, I pulled up Erin's information. I was able to do a quick little Google search and found her email pretty quickly. So I'd recommend, take a few minutes, do a Google search, try to find their email, phone number, and then just send them to a quick message. Let's see if we can try another thing. Let's say in a hypothetical situation, Paycom wasn't connected with, Tulsa at that point. So you can just try, do company Paycom, and then somebody who does, role with community. And that. See, and that would connect you with Tara. She is actually in charge of making those outward connections. And so even this individual you might connect with might not be the one, but they can connect with the right person. So I'll hop back into the PowerPoint. Now, I will say, though, this may require some persistence. You may send out several messages and not hear back. So that's why I would say take the time to look at phone numbers, look at emails. Not everyone looks at LinkedIn every day. And not trying to be pessimistic, but if you send out a bunch of messages, I'd say it's highly unlikely that you'll have a 100% response rate, but just keep at it. Someone will eventually connect with you and will connect you with the right person. So I'd just say, don't be discouraged. It'll take a little bit of patience. There's nothing wrong with sending follow-up messages. Maybe someone, saw a message and thought like, oh, this club wants to maybe, speak at their group, or is that for sponsorship? I have this report I'm doing right now. I'll get back to it later, and they forget. There's nothing wrong with sending some follow-up messages, phone calls, emails, nothing wrong with that. And yeah, and don't just fixate on one individual. You might need to connect with multiple individuals, and one person, they might not be the right one, but they can connect you with the right person. Okay, next, we're going to talk about communication. A lot of people talk about, less is more, especially when it comes to email. Make sure it's to the point, clear, including important details, but make sure they can get the gist of it just by skimming it. So here's important things to include in your message or email. Just introduce yourself, share the group that you're with, the organization, the campus that you're at. Explain, what you're asking for quickly. You don't want them to be searching a long paragraph to figure out what you're asking for. Quickly ask them like, hey, we're looking for a sponsorship, or looking for help within this event. Share why you like them to partner with you. And then, very important, include any dates, times, locations. You can, if you can, try to bold that so they can see that easily. Share your own contact information, phone, email, LinkedIn, and then thank them for their time. Like I said, be bold in who you reach out to, and I would say definitely extend your reach pretty far. We can, I kind of put together, found this format and example of, a pretty big thought leader in his field, but Simon Sinek, he has all these TED Talks that are really popular. So I just thought, let's say I'm, the president of the marketing club at University of Tulsa, and I would like him to speak to the group. So I wrote this message to say, hello, my name is Gabe Stark. I'm the president of the marketing club at the University of Tulsa. The school year is beginning. We're looking to invite, exceptional leaders to speak to the group about leadership development. Your message is about inspiration and asking why aligns perfectly with the mission of our organization, and we'd love for you to speak with the group. We meet every Thursday at 7 p.m. If you can attend Thursday evening during the fall semester, could you let me know by the end of the month? Feel free to reach out. Here's my email. Thank you for your time. And so just if you find, a number of individuals that you'd like them to partner with you, be bold, like Charles, one of our managers says, shoot your shot. And the worst thing that can happen is they don't respond, or they might say no, thank you. But if that's the worst thing that can happen, I would recommend just trying to create awesome relationships. So let's say you connect with an awesome contact, maybe it's a manager within an organization who, they're excited about the partnership, and then, you have an initial connection, and then, weeks go by and, you haven't heard from them, maybe you emailed them, haven't heard anything back. How do you maintain that? And I would say this does require some persistence and some grace. There's a possibility they could be a little bit swamped. When they're outside of our bubble, we don't know. They might be, going through performance reviews. They might be going through an audit. So, like I said earlier, there's nothing wrong with falling back 2 times, 3 times, extending a phone call. Really, there's nothing wrong with that. I promise, they're not going to be offended if you just say, hey, just want to circle back. Hope you're doing well. Like I said, if they have a lot on their plate, they're not going to be upset. They would change. There's been times that I thought I'd emailed someone back and totally forgot, and someone, send an email saying, hey, Gabe, hope you're doing well. Just want to circle back with this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought I replied. Thank you for reminding me. More often than not, that's going to be the case. I can't think of a scenario. I mean, maybe someone might be defensive, but if they're, if they care about the community, they care about serving, they're not going to be defensive. They're going to thank you for, that reminder. But I will say this is kind of a key part. Might require a little bit of patience, might require some persistence, but nothing wrong with that at all. Because at the end of the day, that shows that organization that you really care about that partnership. All right.
So Gabe, on that, a quick question for you on that.
Yeah.
So with the follow-up, so say we have a student organization that hasn't heard from someone, and they have a meeting, say on a Wednesday, and is it too late to follow up like on a Tuesday? So a lot of times our orgs will be like the day before. So when should be like the cutoff? You haven't heard, it's time to move on type of conversation.
I say if it's getting close to the wire, I mean, you can definitely start having that conversation of like, having a backup plan of like, all right, so-and-so from company ABC, I think they're either, they moved out of the country. We're not hearing anything from them. We don't know if they're still around. I think it is smart to have a plan B. But I would, I'd say kind of the day before, kind of do one last final message. But yeah, I'd say, if it's looking like you're getting kind of a 0 response rate, it's a sudden drop off, I would definitely have that conversation about a plan B. If it's too late for another speaker, maybe see if you can think of another activity. But I would maybe give them the day before, but I mean, I know in a perfect world, everyone would, be there and follow through with their commitments, but, that doesn't always happen. Things happen. So I'd say, definitely in the back of your mind, think of some plan Bs, some activities, and, if you don't hear from them from the day before, yeah, I'd say definitely start putting plan B into action. But yeah, I mean, that's hopefully doesn't happen too often, but it definitely does sometimes. I've had some things happen, like I've had some guest speakers lined up for tours, and, they were, kind of something came up where like they just totally lost track of time, and I had to run and find them, and they're like, oh, that's today. And, so like I said, I think it is good to have a plan B, but yeah, I think give them the day before, and if not, it's okay to move on.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. And then, if they are engaging in communication, you want to give them, a red carpet experience. You want to keep them updated every step of the way. If they're coming to speak, be extra clear about parking, building locations, like the specific parking lot, the room number. I will say, Lino and Tony do the best job of any school I work with in terms of, they email the parking pass, they give the locations, their signs set up. To me, it is a kind of external group. It makes me excited to work with Tulsa because I know I'm going to be taken care of. I'm not going to be left in the dark. If you give, organizations that red carpet experience, they're going to want to come back the next time. If there is a donation involved, likely you'll need some paperwork ready. So have that invoice ready, have your W-9, chat with, see if you can find a connection with an accounting. That just make it an easier experience for them. So the smoother it is, the more excited they'll be to, partner with you again and, kind of really develop a strong relationship. After the engagement, so let's say, Simon Sinek spoke to the group, what do you do afterwards? Definitely show your gratitude. I think in the age of social media, I think it's really cool to, create a cool Instagram post, Facebook, LinkedIn post, tag them in it, thank them for, coming to their event or for sponsoring this activity. Obviously, a handwritten thank you letter goes a long way. I'm of the opinion, I think a paper thank you note has a little bit more weight than an email. Chances are they're getting lots of emails every day. If you have a physical thank you note, they might put it on their wall or have it sitting next to them. Any gift is appropriate. It doesn't need to be fancy, but any type of swag, like University of Tulsa mug or a blanket, they'll take that with them or remind them of that partnership. And then later in the year, follow up and just say, hey, thank you so much for investing in our group and giving of your time, and explain how it helped your organization. They'll most likely use that kind of in their quarterly or yearly review and include that in their highlights. So to them, they see a return of investment of like, I'm helping the community, we're helping the community. That's important to a lot of organizations. And, they definitely will make them want to come back and help again. And obviously, if there's a sponsorship involved with a large donation, kind of generally you'd want to include that organization's name with the event or an activity as well. And I just try to look up some examples. So I just try to look at opportunities that some of my colleagues had partnering with some organizations. So it's a little small, but we had, there's a kind of a sales training club at TCU. And we had a manager come and give kind of tips on sourcing and how to find, prospects. And so the professor just easily just kind of wrote a thank you to those who kind of gave their time. Here's another example. We had a couple of our sales college recruiters help out judge a sales competition. And so, a student was kind enough to write kind of a shout out, thanking them for their time, posted a fun picture. Things like that, actually go a really long way. I think is a kind of a great way just to keep that connection going. But yeah, those are just some examples. I mean, it's not a one size fits all. I mean, some people you might connect with and they're totally on it every step of the way. Some people might require some persistence. Sometimes you might have to move on and try to find a different connection. But those are just some examples. Really what I hope is, you can find some connections that can really benefit you and your organizations. If it's, like I said, helping out like at a one-time event, or a mentor for your club, or guest speakers. I think in the long run, this really can benefit your organization, can help people find careers, and really benefit the company as well. Because I think a lot of companies do want to be more involved in the community. They just don't know where to start or who would want to partner with them. And so by making it easy on them, by extending your hand and saying, hey, we want to develop a partnership, I think a lot of companies would be excited to hop on that. So yeah, that was kind of the total part of the presentation. I can share these slides with Lena and Tani, and if you want to, for example, look at that kind of example kind of message, and kind of follow a similar format, I'd be glad to share that. But yeah, I threw a lot at you. I want to check if there's any, questions from students or individuals. I'd be glad to, give my perspective the best I can.
All right, yeah, so everyone, you can feel free to, you can chat, you can unmute and ask your question. That was awesome, Gabe, I think it'll help our student orgs very much. So I know we have a couple of our development officers on. Did you guys have anything, Candace or Tani, sorry, Amy, sorry, I saw Tani's name, sorry. I'm scrolling through the pictures, I saw Tani's name, sorry. Candace or Amy?
I thought this was great. I thought it was a great explanation of, what is expected. And so I don't think I have any current follow-up questions, though I would recommend that, with this whole process to, if it's advertised on Handshake so we are all in the loop and all know how like Paycom or any other corporate partner are involved. I think that really, really helps us just really appreciate all the support in the various ways that the different corporate partners support us. So thank you for this presentation today. It was great.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I agree with what Amy had to say. I think it was really valuable information. And as a student, I would have loved to have had this in my hands back in the day. So I think what a valuable tool for our student orgs to be able to connect with someone and also have this information all in one place. So great job today.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. I think, are we handing it over to Connor now and talk a little bit about Paycom?
Yes. So I'll stop sharing and then I'll let him share his presentation.
Hey everyone, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
All right, so today we'll just talk a little bit about Paycom, about our culture, kind of who we are, what we do. And so to kind of kick things off here, here's our national commercial. Maybe a few of you have seen that. It comes on pretty often in Oklahoma. But Barbara Corcoran, familiar with her from Shark Tank. But this video goes into just kind of how, our technology is really changing the game within the HR and payroll technology industry. So,
apps are used everywhere except work. Why is that? Is it because people love filling out forms? Maybe they like checking with their supervisor to see how much vacation time they have, or sending corporate their expense reports. I'll let you in on a little secret that they don't. By empowering employees to manage their own tasks, Paycom frees you to focus on the business of business.
yeah, so just kind of highlights a lot of the ways Paycom can kind of free up HR and kind of get rid of some of those redundancies as far as inputting own information, kind of engaging employees to take ownership of some of that information. But kind of in more detail, so we're a software as a service technology company. So the software that we develop internally is a service that we provide to our clients. And we specialize kind of in that human capital management area. So you can see kind of some of the areas that we're in, talent acquisition, talent management, payroll, HR, basically, anywhere from recruitment to retirement. We say that we got covered as far as that goes. And then this is our CEO, Chad Richardson. Most recently, last year, voted a Glassdoor top for 2019. Very strong leader. He's actually the founder of Paycom and still the acting CEO. He's had a very strong vision from the beginning and a reason why we've had such tremendous growth, even as of recently. And then also being a strong leader with everything that's going on now, being able to safeguard employees, being worried about, we've transitioned over to virtual working environment, which is a first at Paycom that we've ever done. So taking big steps there to safeguard employees. And then we have 2 technology offices in our corporate headquarters in Oklahoma City. And then we also have a technology office in Dallas. And then we have 50 sales offices throughout the United States. So here's a good look at our corporate headquarters in Northwest Oklahoma City. You can see kind of the various dates as the buildings were built. This actually doesn't have the picture of the second parking garage that just went in. You know, having some more there with the growing number of employees. And then you can see actually in the back over here, this is our on-site gym as well. And then onto our current Texas office located in Las Colinas. It's on the 10th floor. It has, you know, some of the same amenities that we have at our corporate headquarters, but we're actually transitioning over to opening up an office in Grapevine. They broke ground in 2019. We're not sure exactly when that is supposed to open, obviously with the COVID situation and all that. However, from my understanding, they're working on that, but they broke ground in 2019. We're excited to add that office, add a lot of you know, room for growth. It's going to look very similar to our headquarters in Oklahoma City. And then some of our accolades, you know, we like to brag on ourselves a little bit. You know, some of our more recent ones, you know, voted Glassdoor Best Places to Work in 2020, you know, voted anonymously by employees, top workplaces you know, by the Oklahoma in 2019. So a lot of, you know, recognition coming towards Paycom, you know, being a great employer. Employees obviously see that. And then talking about our corporate culture, so here's just a few pictures that I like to highlight as far as the culture at Paycom. So the top left picture up here is actually from our program called LEAD. It's a year-round program, just helps anybody within Paycom, you know, kind of develop their leadership skills. You know, even if you're, you know, a fresh grad or anything like that, you can come into this program and grow your leadership skills and maybe help you advance within your career. And then over to the right, this is from Customer Service Week. That's actually members of the technical recruiting team right there. So just another you know, little carnival rides and all that good stuff to reward employees. And then this is actually down here a picture of the champions of last year's ping pong tournament. So there's lots of clubs and organizations on campus at Paycom. You know, there's always something going on. So very competitive in this league. I was actually in a Paycom basketball league before everything got shut down. Super competitive, super fun. Everybody gets a lot of enjoyment out of there. So lots of clubs and organizations. And then over here on the bottom left is a picture of the tech recruiting team from our tech night event last fall. Just helps a lot of the technical students get a better idea of Paycom. They have speakers come up like the CIO, Brad Smith, just talking on, you know, the growth of the development department, and then also having interviews next day for internships and whatnot. And then, like I mentioned before, we have an on-site gym. So there's 2 full-length basketball courts, a running track around it, lots of great equipment. There's classes you can do, like boot camp classes are really popular. Great locker room facilities, really helps break up the day. So I'm really caring about the work life and personal life balance at Paycom, you know, versus having some employers don't have that, and maybe you have to drive 10 minutes across town to go, you know, work out on your lunch break and then 10 minutes back. So just very convenient having it right there on campus. And then as far as, you know, food accommodations, we have 2 on-site cafeterias. They cater in lunches from different vendors in the area. Every other Thursday was Qdoba Day when we were on campus, so that was a big hit. And it's very convenient. You go in and swipe your badge. It's payroll deducted right off your check at $4 a lunch. So, you know, you don't have to worry about swiping a card and sending receipts and all that. It just comes right off your check. And there's lots of space, as you can see, with the 2 cafeterias. So a lot of people like to play board games during lunch, you know, with their team or even just whoever, you know, they're friends with at Paycom. So a lot to do there. But the important thing is that we're hiring. And so kind of some of the roles that we're looking at currently, more technical roles focused from my standpoint. We're always hiring for software development, technical support analysts, quality assurance analysts. All of our roles are listed on our website at paycomcareers.com. However, would encourage you going through Handshake. We should have those updated, all the roles in the next couple of weeks, before school starts, on what we're actively looking for as far as internships, full-time, but would definitely encourage you to go on Handshake and look at those. As far as the development team, some specifics on that: they're project-based teams with weekly and monthly releases. As far as software development, they're coding about 90% of their day, so very heavy. We look mainly for like computer science or management information systems, or computer information systems at Tulsa. And then as far as the quality assurance role, doesn't require a technical degree, but somebody that is comfortable with technology. Very important role in our development team. You'll be testing the software before it goes live to our clients, but there's a very well-defined growth track for this role. Since we don't require a technical degree or any prior experience, you'd be able to come in as an analyst one and have an opportunity to level up and even potentially move into leadership roles like team leads and supervisors. And like I mentioned before, that lead program at Paycom can really equip you for that. And then as far as the technical support analyst role, it doesn't require a technical degree either. Somebody that has a passion for IT is who we're looking for in this role. Great growth opportunity. You'd be troubleshooting, physical hardware issues, as well as dealing with some internal tickets, client support. And then, like I mentioned before, somebody with a passion for IT. We really feel like this role opens the door for ITOM for individuals, because there is the opportunity to grow within technical support, as well as also branching out into other areas of IT. And then just talking about training, Paycom does a really great job of training employees. They don't just expect them, just because they have a certain degree or certain, work history, that they can just come in and pick up everything. So there's great training within our technology teams, anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks. We're in a team environment. And then also, like I mentioned before, there's 2 ways to grow within Paycom. There's the technical track, leveling up, being that subject matter expert, as well as also leadership opportunities if you do want to take that next step. And then, like I mentioned before, look on a Handshake for any roles that you'd be interested in. All of them are listed on Paycom Careers, but also on Handshake. The job description should be on there. And then here's my email. You can take note of that. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, or even just send me your resume. Could definitely look that over as well. Let's see. What does the initial training 2 to 6 weeks entail? Steve, so it's specific on the role that they're in, and the team they're on. It just kind of varies. I wouldn't want to give you any specific timeline on that, because pretty much for every role, it's different on the amount of training that it requires. Like the quality assurance analyst role, it's about 3 weeks of guided training, job shadowing, online coursework. Whereas software development, it can be different. Technical support, it can be different. That one is maybe, I'd have to go and look, but I'd say the full training time for some of those roles is around 6 weeks.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
Paycom, you all will be at our virtual career fair, is that correct?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Gabe and I will be at the virtual career fair, and be able to talk with you more specifically on the roles, and have those on Handshake to discuss.
All right, are there any other questions or comments for Gabe or Connor? Sorry, I'm getting feedback. So sorry about that.
Is training done in person? So traditionally we are on site, like I mentioned before. However, currently we're virtually, so we've adapted. There's been training that's done virtually now. There's a lot of that Zoom communication, job shadowing, maybe sharing screens, looking over that. So that's kind of how we've adapted to the virtual environment for training.
Okay. So you guys are based in Oklahoma, you're based in Oklahoma City, right? So is the expectation to, if you're offered a position at Paycom, would you be expected to move to Oklahoma City, or is it just dependent on where I guess, depending on where you applied, like a preference of location? I guess.
It definitely depends on the role as far as that, because we do have the technology office in Dallas. So if it's a technical role that's placed there, and then also we have, if you're applying to sales offices, that would be somewhere else in the U.S. But the plan is to go back on site. However, currently we're having people start virtually, but the expectation is relocation within the future.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, any additional questions or comments? All right, seeing none, Gabe and Connor, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for helping us prep our student organizations on employer expectations as it comes to working with student organizations, and for the overview of Paycom. So we definitely look forward to seeing you virtually in the fall, hopefully one day in person soon. Yeah. But thank you so much for joining us today. And for everyone on the line, this will be posted on the Business Career Center YouTube page, so you can access it later, but be sure to check Handshake for postings and dates of when Paycom will be on campus. So thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Stay healthy and stay safe.
Thanks, Luna.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.